The first time I was in the studio, I don't know if I ever told you this story. Weezer was recording in the club. Not the club, the rehearsal space. Do you remember the rehearsal space?
Yeah. Of course.
So they were going to perform on stage in front of people who had won tickets from a radio station. And then they ran cables into the studio to record. And they were ready to start, but the studio wasn't ready to record. So they were like, Malachi, go in there and help them. I had never even seen the inside of the studio yet. I'd only been there 2 weeks. So I was like, all right. So I go in there and I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. As I'm walking in, Jimmy Iovine goes, hey, hold the door. I'm coming in. So I'm holding the door for Jimmy. First time I'm ever meeting Jimmy. Jimmy walks in and he asks, how long until we're ready to record? And the engineer says, 15 minutes. He goes, you have 4.
That's what Jimmy said?
Jimmy says. And then he starts to walk out. He gets to the door. He stops. He turns around and goes, I haven't fired anyone in a while. Today would be a good day to start. And then he leaves. And I'm like, I'm going to get fired on my first session, bro. Like, what? So then I'm looking around. I'd never been in this studio. I'm looking around like, all right, how can I help? And I'm like, guys, if you need anything, let me know what I can plug in. And I'm like trying to figure out how they have everything plugged in so that I can be of service. We finished just as Jimmy was walking in, and he presses it, and we have sound on everything.
Hallelujah.
But that's what an engineer's job is. It's not a creative job. It's more of like setting up so that we don't have a crash when the creatives actually work.
Yeah.
And when there is a crash, being able to rebound really quickly. So there's like 4 studios surrounding this kitchen and this giant circular table. Dre sitting by himself at the table, and I walk in. And I see my friend, and I'm like, oh, what's good? And he goes, hey, Malachi, this is Doc. Doc, this is Malachi. And Dre goes, I know this guy. He's the guy that gets all my food orders right. Have a seat. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like sitting with Dre, just kicking it with him. And we just start organically having conversation. And he asked me about my music. And I said, I think once I have 1 or 2 hits under my belt, then they'll offer me money for the next thing. And he said, listen, man, I've been doing this my whole life. I have yet to have anyone offer me money for anything. Just figure out how to make these motherfuckers pay you.
Wow.
And that was probably the deepest thing I'd ever heard. And I was thinking like, all right, I thought once I become someone, then they'll treat me different. But they treat him the same way they treat me. So if that's the case, what do I need to do to just get paid? And from that point forward, I started bossing up and like saying no to things and then like learning how to negotiate, learning how to get my leverage up, and I started getting paid.
Wow.
So I started like squeezing, and I lost a lot of friends, man, squeezing for that money. Wow. Like I say I lost friends. People I thought were my friends, I lost. Because I would like start squeezing, like, no, you didn't pay me. I'm not coming in anymore. And they'd be like, oh, I see how it is. You're only doing this for the money. And I'm like, yes, that's what a job is. That's what a job is.
I feel like the come up is always fascinating to dig into.
Okay.
So when you were like hustling at Interscope and you didn't have the relationships you have or the knowledge that you have or whatever, tell us about what was it like? What was going through your head? This young cat, you're not 35, you're 24 or whatever you were, right, at the time?
See, how old was I? 23, maybe?
Okay, let's just go with 23.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Pretty young, hustling. I want to know what was going through Malachi's head when you were in the building. Were you operating out of like anxiety, like, man, I gotta make this work, I gotta make it happen? Or did you find yourself like pretty steady through that? Because I know for me, when I was coming up, I was driven by anxiety to make something happen because you're really trying to make something out of nothing, truly, when you're like an intern or just starting out. So did you have that too?
Yeah, to a degree. I had 2 different things because yours is even tougher because you're just nothing physically in front of you.
No.
Like I'm actually touching things and so I feel like.
But that job, there's 25,000 people that would want what you had to be an opportunity there. So did that make you nervous at all?
No. Okay, so I don't know. This is a tough question because there's so many things going on in my mind. So coming there, I didn't know what I wanted to do for a living. So I was hoping to discover that. I also thought that I had value because I was very good at like making music and creating things. That was not true. There's no value in that anymore. No one goes, oh, this person's good at making music, we're going to give them money. No, that doesn't happen. It was more of like, I've got to position myself so that when the person comes that I want to leave with, like that could come in, take me under their wing. I was always looking for a mentor to take me under their wing, which I don't think it ever really happened. There was a lot of people who mentored me while we were in the studio, and then they left, and then we got the next person. But that place had such high turnover of just producers and artists coming through. I was just eventually just like,
because it was hemorrhaging money at the time, though, right? In its defense,
yeah, I was gonna say at the time, we're probably still doing that. I think that's what they do best. They just, I don't know, just trying to figure out how to capitalize on creativity, but they don't really understand the value of creativity or how to harness it. So I've spent my life figuring out how to harness it now.
That's a good way to put it.
So in my mind, I'm like, all right, how does this machine work? How do I get behind the wheel of the machine? How do I get people who are behind the wheel to actually let me get behind the wheel? So I'm like, just learning all the things, talking to people like you, hoping that like if I get in buddy with you, then maybe you'll introduce me to some more people. Yeah, I used to walk around the building and just like talk to everybody.
Yeah, chop it up.
Like literally just sit up and like, hey, what's going on with you? And people were like, oh, and they were so happy to have a visitor that they would just talk to me.
Yeah, for sure.
I was so fun. So I loved Interscope, so I was so happy to be there. Like, I think I'm successful already because I'm at this place. 2, I'm making almost minimum wage, so I'm not successful at all. 3, there's times that I'm not getting paid for what I'm doing, so I'm really not successful in my own head. And 4, there's people that was the influencers started to come in. Now we're 100% influencer now. Like, like only
it's
influencers
all about numbers.
Get paid. Yeah.
Just the numbers.
If you're not getting, followers and views, you're not making money anymore.
And that's what happened for me when I was doing A&R. I was like, it's no longer about spotting dope talent early. It's about waiting for it to have numbers, right? That's all the label was doing at that point.
That's all they're doing, yes.
Yeah, so I'm like, A&R is like obsolete, bro. Well, would you agree? In a lot of ways.
I think that there's an opportunity for new school A&R. Like, I think you were good at it. And like, one thing I'm going to say, I think you found your niche and you didn't see your niche. You were able to bring artists that didn't have the numbers yet and get them to a place that they could get to the numbers, and then they would get signed and come out from you. If you made a business out of that, dude, you'd make $200,000 a year, man. You could still smash on that.
Yeah, I still got the ear, bro. I had an artist that I signed to Def Jam named Wax, right?
I know what you're going to say.
And I remember it was so dope. You're like, man, if you can't get him a record deal, you just need to go back to Detroit or something so straight up.
I was like, what's the point if you find this guy? You found the guy and you can't do it, then you don't need to be doing this.
And I got him a big deal. His picture was in the building, apparently. I don't know if you were still there, but
I did see the picture.
Really?
I did see the picture on the wall.
That's so trippy, man, to be able to pull that off. Because, that was my big dream coming up in that building, was just to see something on the wall. Each passing day, man, that went by, it started to wear on me more and more and more each passing day until I just flamed out.
Same.
Right?
I think that has to happen because you never would have stopped.
100%.
You would have just kept 100%. Going for the rest of your life, miserable.
I look at it like I was in a relationship at an ex, and like it was a really toxic relationship. Just wasn't working. And then she went back to her ex, and I was like, so mad at the time, but I was like, oh, thank God.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like,
ended it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's some comedian. He said, he's like, I'm stuck in this 2-year relationship with this girl. Like, kind of like, I'm just hoping one day I'll come in or her sleeping with some other person. So I go, whoop. Yeah, he was like, whoop. You can't do that. I'm free. But that's how it feels, right? Because it's like you need that thing that just kind of gives you that last final push.
100%, man. That's Bro, that's a clip right there. That's a top 10 Sports Center clip right there.
Just suffering is the birth of everything.
But it's like if you look at a diamond, right? Like it's like to sand a diamond is friction, right? It's literally friction to get the diamond looking polished and pretty. We go through that in life, bro. It's all friction. And that's why it's weird. Like I just turned 40 and I'm feeling like I'm more myself and more in the zone than I've ever been before. And it's only because the friction I've had for the last 15 years.
100%.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
I think I'm in the same boat. Like as a 35-year-old, I finally know who I am.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by people who know who I am, who not only know me, but wouldn't want me to be anyone else.
And has the other shit fallen away?
Yeah.
Is
like,
the question.
Literally no one that I have anxiety about is in my life anymore.